Summer, 1944. A new sound appeared over London. Not sirens. Not bombers. A strange mechanical buzzing like a giant chainsaw in the sky. Londoners quickly learned to fear that sound more than anything else in the war, because when the buzzing suddenly stopped, death followed within seconds. This was the German V-1 flying bomb, the world's first cruise missile. Pilotless, relentless, and launched in massive waves toward British cities. Thousands of civilians would die. Britain felt like it was reliving the Blitz all over again. But then something unbelievable happened. In a single day, Allied defenses shot down 82% of all incoming V-1s. German commanders were stunned. What had changed? The answer was a tiny device hidden inside artillery shells. A device so secret that even many Allied soldiers never knew it existed. The VT proximity fuse. A small invention that changed the course of the war after D-Day. Germany knew the war was turning against them. The Allies had landed in France. The Western Front was reopening, and Hitler demanded a weapon that could strike back at Britain without risking pilots. The answer was the Vergeltungswaffe, the V-1, the vengeance weapon. It was revolutionary. A small pilotless aircraft powered by a pulse jet engine, capable of flying over 400 miles per hour, carrying nearly a ton of explosives. And it could be launched cheaply in huge numbers. From launch ramps in northern France, hundreds of V-1s began flying toward London every week. Soon, the skies were filled with them, and the city was once again under siege. Because of the terrifying sound of its pulse jet engine, it wasn't just loud. It was psychological torture. People would freeze and listen. As long as the buzzing continued, they still had time. But when the engine suddenly stopped, everyone knew what came next. The bomb would dive silently toward the ground. 10 seconds. Maybe 15. Then the explosion. Entire city blocks vanished in an instant. More than 6,000 civilians would be killed by V-1 attacks, and tens of thousands injured. London was under attack again. But this time, the enemy had no pilots to shoot down. Stopping the V-1 was far harder than stopping aircraft. Fighter pilots could intercept some of them, but it was dangerous and exhausting work. Anti-aircraft guns were supposed to be the main defense. But there was a major problem. Traditional anti-aircraft shells needed a direct hit. They used either impact fuses or timed fuses. Both were unreliable. Imagine trying to hit a small flying bomb traveling at 640 kilometers per hour with a shell fired from the ground. It was like trying to hit a bullet with another bullet. Most shells exploded too early or too late. The success rate was frustratingly low. Britain needed a miracle. Years earlier, American scientists had started working on an idea that sounded impossible. What if a shell could sense when it was near a target? Instead of hitting the aircraft, it could explode close enough to destroy it. This idea became the proximity fuse. But the technical challenges were enormous. An artillery shell experiences up to 20,000 times the force of gravity when fired. No delicate electronics could survive that. At least that's what everyone thought. American engineers found a solution. They built a tiny radio transmitter inside the shell. When the shell flew through the air, it emitted radio waves. If those waves bounced back from a nearby aircraft or missile, the signal changed, and the fuse detonated the shell instantly. It was essentially a miniature radar inside every shell. This was revolutionary technology for the 1940s. And it worked. The proximity fuse was so valuable that Allied leaders feared losing it to the enemy. If a dud shell landed on German territory, scientists could study it. So the weapon was first used only at sea. And the results were dramatic. U.S. Navy ships suddenly became far more effective against enemy aircraft. Planes that once slipped through defenses were now being destroyed in huge numbers. The technology worked. Now it was time to use it where it mattered most. Over Britain. In June 1944, VT fuses arrived in England. British anti-aircraft batteries were re-equipped with the new shells. Gunners didn't fully understand the technology. They only knew one thing. Suddenly they were hitting far more targets. The sky over southern England became a deadly barrier. And then came the day that shocked everyone. In one single day of combat, Allied defenses destroyed 82% of incoming V-1 flying bombs. This was unprecedented. The success rate of anti-aircraft fire skyrocketed overnight. The V-1 campaign began to collapse. German commanders were confused and alarmed. How had the Allies suddenly become so effective? They suspected improved radar, better coordination, more guns, but they never fully understood the real reason. The VT fuse remained secret until the war ended. General George Patton later said, "The proximity fuse won the war." By the end of World War II, VT fuses were used everywhere. Against aircraft, against rockets, even against ground troops today. The same principle is used in modern missiles and air defense systems. A tiny electronic device small enough to fit inside a shell helped defend London, defeat Germany's revenge weapons, and save countless lives. Sometimes the smallest inventions change history the most.